Welcome, comrades, to episode 141 of the Postmodern Polymath Podcast. I'm your host, Chris. Next to me virtually is the Beer King, Zach. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing twice as good as you.
All right, what beers we got tonight?
I made the mistake of actually pouring early, but I also made the not mistake of having, backup. So this is the beer you cannot get in the state of Tennessee for some reason. The
For the podcast persons.
Dragon's Milk Reserve with salted caramel.
Yes.
This is
actually, it is on tap here, but you can't get it at the stores. And
this is the last 2021, so I guess 2022 is going to come out soon. So I just, bought a bunch of that.
It's fine.
Then a beer I got a long time ago in Tennessee. It's actually from Michigan, Sagatuck Neapolitan Milk Stout.
Okay.
And I really like the bourbon barrel version. I didn't like the double dipped, and they just don't.
I like the super double dipped bourbon barrel.
The double dipped is what is that? Sherry or something. It has this aftertaste that I don't really dig.
I really dig it.
Hey,
snob.
I am sticking my pinky out, and this.
I got Rheingeist, crumb cake. I don't know. They make non-remarkable beer except for the
stouts. Cincinnati, right?
The stouts they do, the ink, and there was another one I've had that's pretty good. But their regular beers aren't terribly inspiring. But anyway, I don't want to.
Sorry for your loss.
Sorry. Where the fuck did it go?
Was that a cat? Did you lose your beer? Man, that's rough.
Yeah, shit. No. Okay, well, I guess it's just
older
the black hole. But anyway,
beer debt.
All right, I'm sorry, I don't want to keep him waiting. That's very rude of me. Anyway, so I'm going to welcome to the show. First, I want to say, well, I'll tell you when I met him, but it's awesome to have him on. I'll just say that. Okay, I'll introduce you to Matthew from Intellectual Dark Wave video channel, YouTube channel, I guess.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to tell everybody how I heard about this. I was watching YouTube, as one does when they get high, and I was about to watch Majority Report, or some clip from Majority Report. Sam Cedar, in case you don't know, it's a lefty new YouTube news thing. He used to be a host on a Air America show, I believe, and he's been on. He was on MSNBC for a while, and he was a stand-up comedian, whatever. But anyway, I was watching that. And before it came on, and we all hate YouTube commercials. Let's just be honest. All right. Most people, hate YouTube commercials. I saw this come on, and at first I thought I was tripping. I was like, am I that high that this shit's playing right now? Because it was just random ass, because usually you're used to hearing, your typical commercials. But then this craziness comes on. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just hear? So I had to go look. So for once, a commercial actually did work. And here you are. And good job on your placing skills. Your ad placement skills, I should say. So, tell us a little about yourself.
Let's see. I have been doing YouTube for about two and a half years now. The whole project honestly started as a joke that I thought I thought Ina Muhammad, if you know her, Nice Mangoes, I thought she would find it funny, and maybe Jamie Peck would think it was funny, and that it was gonna maybe get a couple likes on Twitter that day. But more than anything, it was just I had an extra song from my at the time band that we couldn't figure out an arrangement for, and I had written some lyrics about Jordan Peterson, and I was kind of like, oh, intellectual dark wave. That's a funny pun. So I did that, and then it somehow took off from there. And thanks to COVID, my quote unquote real band broke up, and now this is my main gig, I guess. Not my real main gig. I have a day job, but my
Yeah.
main musical outlet.
Well, I don't know how well the former band members will take so-called band, but we'll let that pass. Just kidding. But
No, they're actually still fairly involved in at least in the quality control of this. I kind of have like a so one of the band member, one of the bassist moved out to Seattle, so we don't really physically play music together anymore, but I still send him stuff to add little flourishes on here and there. And our drummer is actually also a banjoist. So since I've been pivoting into country music, he has been supplying me with some banjo licks. And they're kind of my quality control anyway. I run a lot of my ideas past them because I mean, partially that's just the songwriting process I'm used to, but also because they're usually good at telling me if I have an idea that's a little too out there or offensive or esoteric or just something that falls flat on its face. They usually kind of say, "No, Matt, no one's going to get that joke. Shut up."
well, so you actually have subscribers. I mean,
Yep.
so you actually have to worry about stuff like that. Obviously, I don't really care. I mean, I guess if I got more subs, then it'd be different. But I don't think that's going to happen. But you're already a musician. You were
Yeah.
obviously a musician beforehand. What do you play, instrument wise?
I play guitar, bass, keyboards. Recently started learning lap steel, hence the country pivot. Honestly, the lap steel came before I kind of had a whim one day. It was actually I was getting into Hawaiian music, and I was kind of like, I think I'm going to get a lap steel just to play around with because I just like the sound of it. And I started playing it, and I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to be able to play Hawaiian music, but I think I can get away with country. And I'd also been listening to a lot of country lately, so I was just kind of like, I'm gonna go for this and see if I can learn how to play steel guitar for real and maybe fake my way through some country tunes.
I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah,
Well, that's
Yeah,
my
I think
first.
one of the issues with the intellectual dark web is sometimes it's hard to make fun of it because it just the joke kind of is what it is. But do you think if people like hear a country tune, intellectual dark wave, they might actually think that well, I guess until they start hearing the lyrics, but they might actually think, hey, this guy's one of us.
I have my theories. I've been playing around with advertising on YouTube for a couple months now, and one of the more successful placements for spam burgers has actually been specifically on "It's 5 O'clock Somewhere" by Alan Jackson and Jimmy Buffett, which the song is to some extent aping or like parodying, and I think there's some kind of element of the country audience that is either open to this or they just hear the chorus and like it. I'm hoping that it's one of those things where I can kind of like sneak in through the catchy chorus, and then maybe later on they'll start listening to the lyrics and they'll already be like too involved that they can't just be like,
I don't
screw
know,
this guy.
man. These rednecks are pretty, pretty. Well, Bobby Sue, I just heard that we need to give the island back to Hawaii back to him. So I guess we need to go ahead. Can we go listen to Majority Report? Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I'm not saying the power of the lyrics. I mean,
commercial
I guess it just
actually
depends.
That's actually a smart move, because it seems like every time I listen to anything that's left in any or atheist content, it's always Christian or like Ben Shapiro or Jordan Peterson, and it's just like, man, they just own this thing. So yeah, they deserve to have a little bit taken out of them.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any illusions about like my music is going to save the world or anything. For the most part, I'm just happy that I have any kind of audience, and if I snag a couple of people from the other side and change a couple minds along the way, that's awesome. But I'm not. I don't fully expect that I'm going to be able to be like, I don't know, the next Bob Dylan or anything like that. I think I'm a little too old for that at this point.
I don't know, man. He's still going. Was he 80? And he needed to be
Yeah.
stopped like 40 years ago, probably. But anyway, it's a personal opinion. And incidentally, I wanted to apologize. I didn't mean to imply that your music couldn't change minds. I just know people around here are exceptionally hard headed. That seems to be, and they're always back 50 years anyway. So it's rare to. You never know, but it's hard to. It's
Yeah,
rare to
leftists
find.
are pretty hard headed too sometimes. So I've got experience with that. But I think as we were talking about this the other day, when in my experience of, I mean, I've been doing some form of activism for a long time at this point, probably, I guess, like 20 years now. And my experience has always kind of been like, you have to play the long game, and you're never going to change someone's mind with, like a really good argument on the spot. It's like you might plant seeds, and that's kind of all you can hope for, really. And hopefully I can plant some seeds. And also I think that there's more of a diverse country audience than the country media would lead you to believe. Like, obviously, the majority is definitely on the conservative side, but I think there's a fairly significant plurality of fans of country music who are either not that involved in politics one way or the other, like they just don't think about it that much, or have at least to some extent, more not necessarily left wing, like in everything, but they're open to ideas about unions or about certain military issues. And if you kind of meet them on certain issues, they'll be somewhat receptive, as long as you're not, like being an asshole about it. And to that end, the other placement that I've had really good success with is Steve Earle videos, and I think that's probably more my natural my natural audience, because he's like pretty outspoken, left wing, and I think there's a lot of his audience that are pretty like outwardly left wing. So that's more like playing to what's the word I'm looking for? Preaching to the choir, right?
Oh,
I think
no,
that's probably most of what I'm doing.
that's
I mean,
most.
I went to the Ryman and went to see Drive By Truckers, and that's a country band that's very politically open. And like Jason Isbell, who used to be part of that group, was he's a political guy too. So it's still out there. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. People think of like country music and like, oh, they just talk about getting drunk, or now they talk about loving Trump too, or
That's because the fucking
this
powers that
American
be.
thing that doesn't really
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah, and honestly, there's really more more progressive, like actual country music. I don't know what the fan base is like really outside of Baltimore, where I've pretty much lived in Baltimore my whole life, so I'm not particularly familiar with like the the music fan base elsewhere. But it's kind of gone, like especially around here with country music, it's really kind of gone in waves. Where like when I was a kid in the '90s, for the most part, country was just kind of like part of what everyone listened to, and it wasn't necessarily. I mean, there are always people who are like, usually like metal guys who would be like, I like everything except for country and rap. But then like everyone else that I went to high school with, they like the Dixie Chicks and they like Shania Twain and like the more pop country stuff. Garth Brooks was always very popular, and that was just kind of part of the pop environment, I guess, along with some other, along with like general like alternative rock and like hip hop and like teen pop and all that. And then it just kind of like faded away at some point. And now recently it seems like everyone is kind of into it again. Like just everyone that I know that's my age is either really into like alt country. So they're either into like Wilco, and I think everyone, well, they were into Ryan Adams until like a year ago, for, obvious reasons. Or I know a lot of, a lot of like guys my age who are really into like bro country and, like Florida Georgia Line, that kind of stuff.
Oh God.
But so to me, like even at least like what I'm going for locally, I don't necessarily even think of the country audience as like a separate audience necessarily. It's just kind of like another genre of music that people listen to here, and most people are not necessarily like, I only listen to country music or I only listen to metal or whatever. Most people that I know kind of listen to a mishmash of stuff, and
Yeah, I feel like for one thing, and he was talking about Jason Isbell just now. Of course, there was the big thing with what's his name, the guy who covered the song. What was the name of the guy? I don't know. The Grand Ole Opry. He was just recently, like they let him play at the Grand Ole Opry. This is the guy who said the N word, drunken N word on video.
Oh yeah.
And Jason Isbell wasn't trying to have all that.
Mm-hmm.
He said that was bullshit. He said he was giving all the money that he made off that single to NAACP, I think it was, or something like that. Although I would argue that's not the best organization to go to, but that's a whole different thing. I understand the sentiment. So yeah, if you could, and of course there's a long tradition in the South. West Virginia, I don't know how the fuck is that place Republican? That's where the fucking what was it called? What mountain was it? I'm fucking can't think straight. But the mine workers, the big revolt they had, and where the army was like bombing them from the sky.
Yeah, Harlan County.
Yeah. So where the term redneck actually came from was the red scarves they wore or whatever. So I would urge people not to use redneck as a pejorative, because the actual crackers down here don't deserve that nomenclature. Let me just tell you right there. So yeah, there is definitely a very strong kind of pro-labor, kind of independent voice down here. So I think people underestimate that. And it's there because of course, I know some commies in Montgomery, Alabama, and that's about as south as you can get. So, they're here. It's just you don't hear about it as much because it's, the governors and the fucking legislature. Anyway, I don't want to get I was going to say I don't want to get too much into politics, but your songs are political, so I guess that's
I mean,
one's in there.
Politics and music kind of always blend together for me, and I'm not really. I mean, I enjoy escapism, and certainly there's like a place for that, but I'm generally one of those people that like believes music is more or less political, whether you want it to be or not, and you kind of can't escape it. The other thing I was gonna say is just based off of like what I remember from like growing up, because I'm not really that up on contemporary country. Not really. I like I said, I'm much more versed in like 80s, 90s, like early 2000s, and also earlier than that. But like what I listened to growing up. But I really remember a lot of stuff that was very much like popular and on the radio, and actually kind of in the like the sort of like feel good Jimmy Buffett kind of vein. That was also very sort of pro worker, and like one that sticks out in my mind is Shift Work by Kenny Chesney.
Oh God, Chesney.
Which I know a lot of people like think he's cheesy, and he is. That's part of his appeal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I was probably in college when that came out, like probably around 2003, 2004. I want to say, and like I mean, beyond that song just being like a very pro worker song, there's even like a line about the guy, like one of the characters in the song, taking pride in wearing a union made baseball cap, and there's like little hints like that.
Yeah, but that was, how long ago was that? Before Trump? BT?
Yeah,
Before
yeah.
Trump, before he shifted everything so far right. But I mean, Nashville is a blue city anyway. So if you're coming out of Nashville, something that's gonna rub off on you anyway. And
Yeah. And ultimately, I'm still kind of living in the 2000s anyway.
Well, who isn't? Oh well, it depends your age, I guess. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I am 37.
Good God Almighty. Okay.
It's a youngster.
I'm 48, and you look grayer than I do.
You should see my dad. He was by my age. He was like totally gray. Like on his entire head of hair was gray.
Oh, my dad's hair is white, straight up white, and he started doing that before I was even before he was even 40. So genetics is fun,
Yep.
So other than the country stuff, synth pop seems to be your main musical form. And I know I've heard a Depeche Mode kind of thing going on there, kind of influences. I even heard Ben Folds a couple of times. Of course, maybe I was high, but of course, if you're the keyboard based, you're going to hear, I guess, influences from different people that I can hear. But personally, what are your influences?
So probably biggest ones are I'm a big Steely Dan fan.
Steely Dan, okay.
Hall & Oates. Generally, there's a lot of like, I guess, producers that I like that have worked with a bunch of artists. Like I really like Kashif, who did a lot of R&B records in the 80s with like Evelyn King and Melba Moore and some other people. Luther Vandross, another big one for me.
That's interesting.
Him and his work, like and Marcus Miller, who was like his bassist, was kind of one of my. So I started out playing bass, and so Marcus Miller was kind of one of my early bass heroes, because my bass teacher made me learn to play jazz, even though I wanted to play punk rock. But he was like, "This is what you're going to learn to play."
Yeah, everybody wants to listen to punk rock. You have to learn jazz.
I was in a hardcore band at the time, and then at some point it took over, and I guess like I spent a lot of time with my grandparents as well, so that they always listened to jazz, and
that's actually cool.
Yeah, they were very happy that I was learning to play jazz, and they would always my grandmother would always refer to my band as my orchestra, because she has like she's like from the big band era. I'm kind of like all over the place in terms of music. But yeah, I like a lot of 80s stuff. And in terms of stuff that was like probably more in like, I guess, set me down a certain path, but it's not necessarily what I listen to like right at the moment, because I kind of go through phases. Like I'll kind of be like listening to a lot of R&B for 6 months, and then the next 6 months I'll be listening to like nothing but electronic music, and then the next 6 months I'll be listening to like butt rock, and but probably like early on, like Rancid was probably my favorite band as a kid, and
As a kid, oh
yeah.
Jesus God!
And they were another band with a really good bassist, Matt Freeman. And that was what I wanted to learn how to play. And I was like, I want to learn how to play these like really fast solos like he does. My teacher was like, okay, you're going to learn how to play jazz. And you gotta
have training first.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could, but I mean, if you're going to do it my way, we do it my way.
Yeah.
You'll get to that point, but first you got to do what I want you to do. Which is actually obviously a better way to do it.
I just listened to like the Dave Grohl biography, and he was a punk rock guy, but his mom was really into jazz, and the only drum instructor he ever had tried to teach him jazz first. So it's interesting, these like different influences that people have there. Like you think it's a straight line. It's not.
Yeah. So yeah, like I guess in terms of learning all that kind of stuff, that's really, I don't really play. I play like a little bit of jazz for if people ask for it when I'm doing like a contract work kind of thing. Like I'll do some. I do a little bit of incidental music, I guess you could call it, or like theme music. And if someone asks for something that's jazzy, I'll kind of pull it out. But I don't really play much jazz anymore, and I don't really even improvise that much anymore. I'm very like sloppy about it. But I like learning all that stuff is probably taught me a lot about harmony, and I use a lot of like the chord structures and.
And there's a cat.
Sorry, I had 3 cats. Go ahead.
Well, we talked about your like musical influences, but we should obviously talk about your channel itself. So, do you have like a schedule? Like, do you post like a song a week, or what's the normal?
God, I wish. I have been trying.
Be good production, right?
Yeah, there. I have been trying to do a song a month, and not quite keeping up with that. My, I guess, resolution for 2022 is that I'm going to release a song a month, at least on like an audio format, and hopefully keep up with that in terms of videos. But I guess one thing that's kind of giving me a little bit of a push is I finally started a Patreon, which I still feel like really.
I was wondering. I was like, no, I looked at him like there's 6. What the fuck? I was like, what kind of shit is this, man? You should have at least like 30 or 40, but you just started it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I was kind of resistant to it for a while, partially because like, I have a day job. I'm not like hurting for money. There's a lot of people who are,
well,
in my audience that probably need the money more than I do, but
there's nothing wrong with just throwing a link up there. I mean, it's not like you're getting in their face, give me money. It's just, if you have a little extra, throw my way. If not, that's cool too.
Yeah. Really, I'm hoping that I can like use the money to sort of finance some bigger projects, and I've kind of been like working out the numbers, and up until recently, I've pretty much been doing like everything myself, like all the video editing, all the mixing, mastering. I learned how to animate, kind of, sort of, because I needed to. And I'm kind of hoping that I can maybe, if I can, maybe start getting like a couple $100 a month from Patreon, I might be able to hire someone, I was looking into the cost of like hiring a cameraman for like a day, and I don't think I can afford that, but if I can hire like someone to shoot maybe 4 hours of footage, and ideally, I have to find out whether union scale is the same in Maryland as it is in California, because all I could find were the rates for California. But I'm kind of hoping to like be able to hire someone to like do the actual camera work while I perform or something like that, and maybe even hire someone. I did hire someone to edit a video for the first time, and that was really cool. And yeah, this guy Daniel Philbrooks, who did the Spam Burgers video, and I think he did a really really awesome job with it. But I've completely lost my train of thought. So
Well,
While
we're on this, I mean, I thought it'd be fun to kind of go through your process. And since you talked about Spam Burgers in Paradise and Chris brought it up, like the concept of the song itself, and then coming up with that, and then the idea for the video, and then I guess this time you get to have an editor, so that was probably a lot, a relief for you, because there's a lot of aspects to YouTube. It's kind of crazy just doing a podcast. It's mainly an audio thing. With video, it's like, oh my gosh, there's so many things to think about. But what is that process for you, coming up with a song concept and then saying, okay, now I have to do a video, just like MTV?
Yeah. So I, more recently, it's gotten a little bit looser. In the beginning, I was basically just kind of going through the whole like IDW sphere and like picking, person by person to make fun of. And then eventually I kind of ran out of people to make fun of, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to start writing songs about like real things now. But Spam Burgers really did come from, I'd gotten the steel guitar and I was listening to a lot of Hawaiian music, and I specifically I was watching lectures by this guy Alex Akeka, who is a steel guitar player. I think his father used to be like the senator from Hawaii, but he's kind of like a historian of Hawaiian music, and he was part of in the 70s there was something called the Hawaiian Renaissance, where traditional Hawaiian music had kind of been not lost, but it had fallen out of favor, or it wasn't quite as encouraged. And in the 70s there was kind of a resurgence of pride in Hawaiian culture amongst like Native Hawaiians, and he kind of came out of that. He was, I guess he was like young back then. And he was kind of one of the major people who started bringing like lap steel back into the forefront, which had kind of fallen out of favor when pedal steel guitars started being made. And he was really trying to push for like acknowledgement of how much influence Hawaiian music, like traditional Hawaiian music, has had on American music. And so when I was, going through this period of listening to Hawaiian music a lot, I was like, oh yeah, like a lot of the stuff that I like is actually, it has roots in Hawaiian music. And it's really kind of, Hawaiian music really was like very popular at the turn of the century. Basically, right after we invaded, there was this big wave of like Hawaiian craze, where everyone on the mainland was like obsessed with Hawaiian music, and it was like very kitschy and not exactly respectful. But it's something that became very influential in mainland culture nonetheless. And so that's how steel guitars became a big part of American music. That's how like open tunings became a big part of American music. Obviously, ukuleles are, still very popular these days. And there's a lot of other stuff that is kind of not quite originating in Hawaii, but kind of came to us by Hawaii. If you ever hear like yodeling in country music, that has a weird lineage, but Hawaii was a big part of that lineage. The the There's a long story behind it. But long story short, Germans in the 19th century moved to northern Mexico when Mexico was part of the Habsburg Empire. And then they went from northern Mexico to Hawaii to work on sugar plantations, taught native Hawaiians how to yodel, and then yeah, and then
wow, okay, I'm gonna have to look that up. That's
so yodeling was then incorporated into Hawaiian music, and then when Hawaiian music became a craze in the United States, people here were like, "Oh, yodeling, cool!" So, and that's how yodeling became part of country music.
Nobody thinks yodeling is cool. They're lying to you, sir.
It's that yodel thing from was it The Price is Right? I just remember that. That was the thing you did when you stayed home from school.
Yeah, the little dude going up the hill and shit.
You wanted him to stop before he got to the top. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, anyway.
Very cultural.
Very age, showing our age. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, so I was like, if I'm going to do some country songs, I should probably do a song about Hawaii that's, giving a nod to where all this came from. And it's not really something that a lot of people talk about. And and the other thing was I was reading How to Hide an Empire by Daniel Immerwahr, which is a really great book that I highly recommend, and that deals with a lot of the incorporation of like various overseas territories into the American Empire, and kind of the way that Hawaii, not just Hawaii. I mean, it covers like everything, like Hawaii, Philippines, pretty much everything else in the South Pacific. And it's a really interesting book, and it's there's really been kind of like a concerted effort to not teach that part of American history, and
what?
Yeah,
people of color not being portrayed accurately in U.S. history. Perish the thought.
And also it's something that it doesn't really fit the image that we like to present of being, like a republic and being we broke off from the British Empire only, but people like to pretend that the US is like, the bastion of democracy. And actually, even at the time that all this was going on, it was very kind of controversial, and people and a lot of government officials tried to keep it out of the public eye because
they just stole it.
Yeah. Like it, shockingly, like about half the country, every time we would go and invade a country in like the late 19th, early 20th century, there was roughly half the country that was like, why are we doing this? Aren't we supposed to be a democracy? Why are we acquiring imperial possessions? And, it wasn't quite enough people to stop it from happening, but it's not like it was something where everyone at the time was just, oh yeah, this is normal. Like people knew it was bad back then too. And it was just kind of swept under the rug so that people wouldn't have to think about it and have that cognitive dissonance.
I mean, that's good politics. I don't know if the Red Scare is maybe the Red Scare, maybe we'll just people. I mean, I'm sure there's several things the Red Scare was going to cover up as far as domestic policies that weren't too popular, but that's a whole nother podcast or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we had kind of switched to soft imperialism by that point. The era of like hard American imperialism, where we were literally acquiring colonies, was more like the 1880s to up until World War II. And after World War II, we kind of like had to.
Oh yeah, we try to act like we give a fuck.
Yeah. After World War II, we switched modes to it was less the agent of American Empire was less the army and more the CIA.
Yeah, these kind of underground, you know. Oh no! What happened to Mossadegh? He accidentally somehow got thrown into a coup. I mean, I don't know how the fuck that happened. You know, fucking CIA. If there's one organization in the history of this planet, and they're incompetent as shit. I read a book about that. That's a whole nother thing, obviously. Even the regular military doesn't like him. Nobody fucking likes the CIA because they suck. They're not even good at it.
Watch out for Chris loves book learning. It's tough.
I had era when I was reading all that CIA, FBI, fucking secret war in Afghanistan before the war actually started in the 80s and all that shit. Anyway, we're here to talk about you, sir.
Well, this is what I like to talk about anyway. So
yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of in this instance.
Yeah, it's a nice intersection.
And that's why I really like your music. And one of the things that is interesting, especially in that song, right? So the lyrics aren't necessarily controversial in anything. You're like, oh, okay, and then all of a sudden you're talking about, whoa, wait a minute. But once you get in there, see if you're already in the song, right? And it just, I see what you're doing there, man. That's good.
Oh yeah, that was. I'd been submitting music to like blogs for reviews and also to for like what's the word I'm looking for synchronization for for like to be used as background music. And one of the main guys that I was going through was like, hey, I really like the music, but like the lyrics are really getting in the way. Like, can you do something about that? Like no one, can you write like some love songs or something? And I was like, maybe I'll do like the first verse with, like totally normal lyrics and then just go into it in the second verse. And
so you planned that. You planned it. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good job, man. Uh-oh, we actually have a comment. That's rare. Howdy, y'all. Been following Intellectual Dark... Sorry. Hey, y'all. Been following Intellectual Dark Wave's work for more than a year now. And, none of your business.
Come on.
Okay, all right. I'm obviously inebriated. I didn't catch that at first, but is that a foreign name? None of your business. Okay. And there's a smiley face. So we do have a comment, and you have a fan. I mean, you have many fans, and now that you started your Patreon, hopefully more of them will, help you out.
Yeah.
Financially. What the hell were we talking about? You just said you lost your train of thought. Now I'm lost my train of thought. Shit.
Well, what about another, okay, so, Spam Burgers in Paradise, talking about Hawaii and, U.S., let's get to the, subject that's closer to the, title of your channel, Intellectual Dark Wave. So moving to Miami. So this is the first thing of yours that I actually listened to. And at first it was just Dave Rubin talking. And I'm like, oh, so this guy does background music to these people talking. But then you started, do your own stuff too. So what was the whole, concept there?
That was someone commented on another video, probably like the day Dave Rubin announced that he was moving to Florida, and they were like, Dave Rubin's totally moving to Miami, right? You should do
the Free State.
You should, yeah, yeah. Someone was like, you should do a parody of "Welcome to Miami" by like the Will Smith song, and I was like, well, I don't think I can rap, but maybe I can get away with it through a vocoder. And
don't sleep on the vocoder, y'all.
Yeah.
I love a fucking vocoder. Let me tell you right now.
Yeah, I've been doing more vocoder stuff lately anyway because I got one, so makes me want to use it a lot.
You have a fucking vocoder?
Yeah,
holy
sure.
shit, dude. That's awesome.
It's there we go.
This is the studio. Go on.
Yeah.
What do you? Is there like a tube you speak in there or something?
You just plug a microphone into it.
Oh, because it used to be. It's okay.
Oh, so there's the talk box is the one with the tube where that has the microphone coming out of it, and that goes into your mouth.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's like the Zap kind of thing, or like Peter
Yes.
Frampton.
Yeah, old school shit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Didn't
those.
Bon Jovi do one of those? Wah, wah, wah
Yup.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
living on a prayer.
Yeah, those are a lot harder to use than vocoders, because you have to
Actually,
yeah, you have to like
talking to it.
bite down on the tube while you're also doing the mouth movements.
Oh, sexy baby.
Yeah. But yeah, so someone had suggested that I do Welcome to Miami, and I was like, I don't want to. I don't really want to rap. That's like one thing that I'm like. I know like I'm not going to be good at.
Yeah, white people should probably. This is a general rule: should not rap. But
yeah, I love hip hop, but I'm not a rapper. I'm barely a singer, and also I was kind of like a little bit burned from. So I'd done a version of "Have You Forgotten" by Daryl Worley, the which the country hit from like 2003, like the pro-Iraq war song. And it YouTube, even though like I re-recorded it with myself singing and rewrote the lyrics.
those sons of bitches.
I still got like a copyright. I worked it out, so he's getting all the. Not that my channel isn't even monetized, but to the extent that there's any advertising on there, he's getting the payment from it. But I didn't feel like dealing with that again, so I was like, I'm just going to stick to originals for the time being. So I was like, what can I do that's kind of like in that vein? I was like, oh, he's moving to Miami. I should do a Miami-based song, which is.
What do you mean a Miami bass song?
Like Two Live Crew, that kind of stuff.
I like Two Live Crew. Back in the day, that's what we thought we were being hardcore listening, naughty, whatever the fuck it is. The Two Live Crew album that had Me So Horny on it and whatever. That was
Nasty as They Want to Be.
Nasty, yes. That was, we were 18 and we thought we were so cool that we got that fucking album. But anyway, dating myself once again. But okay, I didn't know that was a specific subgenre or whatever.
Oh yeah. There's like it's one of the things that's kind of big here in Baltimore, or at least it was when I was younger. I don't think it's quite as much anymore. But kind of that whole sound of like there's a very specific beat that goes with it, and it's usually like
fat ass bass. By the way, are you playing bass? That was a fat. Boom, boom. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's usually that kind of like the bass and the kick drum are kind of locked together, and then there's the drums are usually like an 808 and
808.
Yep. There's all sorts of like kind of elements to the sound, but yeah, and like dirty lyrics. So I was like, I got to throw in some like dirty lyrics, and that was right when the whole Nancy Reagan thing was.
I was wondering randomly when you just threw that. I'm like, wait a minute! I just heard about this like 2 weeks ago or something. When did you did you make this song? I didn't look at the creation.
Probably around then, whenever 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay, I wasn't. Okay, I didn't realize it was that recent. Okay.
Yeah, that one was kind of like on the fly.
When I saw, at first, I'm like, look, I don't like making, I don't want to sex shame anybody, right? And then I said, wait, it's Nancy Reagan. Fuck her.
Yeah.
Burn in hell.
Yeah.
She's the real Satan. Because Ronnie's ass was checked out by the second term, right?
Yeah.
So she was running things anyway. And if she was as good at that as they say she was, it's probably already fucking in the... Now, if you don't pass this law, I'm not sucking your dick, Ronnie. Well, okay, Nancy. So.
And really, actually, I got to find out who her psychic was, because they're probably responsible for a lot of shit.
Gene
Yeah,
Dixon?
there was like a podcast episode about that because they made this big deal about like the Clintons doing this like dark magic, and I'm like, the Reagans were doing that stuff in the 80s. Like
Magic?
they had some really
Wait a
weird
minute.
Yeah.
rituals
Dark
going on.
magic? I want you to back up to the Clintons and dark magic.
Well, of course, I mean the whole
never heard of
Pizzagate and
any
all the
of
stuff about
Oh,
eating
okay.
blood and babies. I mean, come on, Alex
Oh,
Jones, you know this stuff.
the underground moon child molestation colony.
Basically, using the other side
They
of
need
doing
this
what
is
you
like
do.
L. Ron Hubbard sci-fi shit is what this
Mhm.
is. It's pulp sci-fi shit is all that is.
Hmm.
It's not even that original. We did this 50 years ago. And all the old amazing sci-fi stories, those old pulp mags. Anyway, whatever. Sorry, got off track once again.
Yeah. Oh man,
Never.
if you get me started talking about conspiracy stuff, I'll.
That's a different show. We can do that
Yeah.
too. I mean,
That's another one of my like. I love it. I'm not really like a believer for the most part, but I definitely yeah. I mean, there's like some.
I know.
There's a couple that are not necessarily confirmed, but
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't take that much of a leap of faith to believe that the CIA was running cocaine to fund Contras.
Oh, fuck. Come on. That's been pretty well documented. I mean, well, by journalists.
Yeah.
And one that was killed just ran.
I mean, there's still people who are like, oh no, that's a conspiracy theory. That no FOIA requests have ever really confirmed it. It's like
they did a fucking hearing on it. What are you even talking about?
There should have been an impeachment, but it was so popular. It was like, no.
Trump was impeached 2 times. You think it would have made any difference? Fuck no.
Actually, I've got a couple songs about conspiracy theories coming out in the near future because that, like I said, that's always been a big love of mine. Probably the reason I ended up so like tied to IDW stuff is because I used to be very into like the whole skeptic community thing.
Oh yeah, see, we need to. I guess we need to kind of broach that since your name, you named your channel after it, the Intellectual Dark Web or whatever. So your channel is obviously a parody of that. Maybe we need to go ahead and just kind of describe a little bit what the IDW even is.
I'm not even sure it's still a thing anymore.
It's they've kind of they
faded,
split, man. They had creative differences.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris had a falling out over ivermectin.
Are you
Wait, who was pro and who was against? I mean,
I can't tell. You can't tell.
Yeah.
Is this true? Is this actually true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, see, this Poe's law is kicking in. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, Sam Harris had I think he like officially quit the IDW.
Oh, quit.
Yeah. He was like, I don't want to. He was like, I don't want to be associated with these people anymore. He's still an asshole, but I'm pretty sure he put it in those terms. Like he was like, I'm leaving the IDW as if it, like it really was some kind of official group or something. But yeah, it was over COVID stuff because Brett Weinstein and then Jordan Peterson, were all on the whole like ivermectin thing and kind of anti-vax. And Sam Harris was like, I don't want to die.
Yeah, he tries to at least act like he's a scientist of some. Technically, I guess he is. He has his PhD in neuroscience or whatever the fuck it is. So technically, I guess he is a scientist. But if that's the case, you need to stay the fuck in your lane. And
Yeah, there's no lane. Yeah, it's like
Well, if you're a white guy,
I can't believe Jordan Peterson. Like he was in like Russia, like near death, and like his daughter almost killed him, and then he made a comeback. But he's just as nuts as he was before. I mean, it still makes money. It's like women are demons. Like, well, you're married, right? I don't get it. I'm never gonna try the Kermit the Frog voice to do him. It's not possible.
Also, if I had to speculate, I think Jeffrey Epstein may have had something to do with some of the breakup just because, well, again, Sam Harris being the odd man out. Sam Harris, or not Sam Harris, but Dawkins, Pinker, and Dennett were, they were in the Black Book, and there's pictures of like all three of them.
Back up, because I hadn't heard any of this shit.
Yeah.
Well, I know the Harvard connection and Pinker.
Yep.
Like,
Pinker,
I
didn't know any of them.
Yeah.
You said Pinker, Dennett, who was the other one?
Dawkins.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Dawkins.
Yeah. There's actually photos of all three of them together on the Lolita Express.
God damn it. God, why am I not surprised by this?
It really goes both ways. Like, the whole, like, QAnon thing is against pedophilia, but then all these people that Trump hired have gotten in trouble for pedophilia, and they're just like, whatever.
It's projection.
So Epstein definitely covered like both sides. Like he's got
no,
and Trump involved, and
it's the powerful. It's got nothing to do with
rich people who can do whatever they want. They're like, well,
rich ass people.
Bored, so
don't give a fuck. Okay, you think call it left, right, whatever. When they get behind closed doors, they're sitting over here counting the cash and obviously having sex with underage women. So I mean. Is anybody really surprised by this? And what the hell is
no. Definitely not. But I kind of wonder. I always thought it was kind of conspicuous that Sam Harris was always absent from these the meetups on Little St. James, and I sometimes wonder if it's just like he was too boring for them to take him along with their sexcapades.
He is good as a straight man against somebody that's better than him. And it's always like when he had Ezra Klein on, the more epic takedown I've listened to that episode 2 or 3 times, I think, because I just love it. Ezra Klein he's matching him on that kind of, white man rational level or whatever. But he's sitting there tearing his ass apart, but not ever raising his fucking voice, right? And of course, what does Sam Harris always say? You're not, arguing in good faith or whatever the fuck it is. That's or out of context. He's saying bullshit or whatever. But yeah, fuck Sam Harris. But he's not. He wasn't on the island because he's too. He's.
But yeah, I just like this is total speculation on my part. I have no actual evidence of this other than, it's confirmed that they were on the plane and went on trips with Epstein to somewhere, but I would imagine that they're all like freaking out, because
they probably just like what Epstein's so rich, he just like probably calls people, hey man, you want to go hang out on the island right quick?
Yep.
He just gets on a whim. Of course, they jump on that shit. I mean, if we're going to go to a private island, Dawkins especially, I can see his old ass.
Oh, he's got to be a creep.
Maybe. I don't know. He just strikes me again as the boring Sam Harris shit. Does he have a sex drive? I don't know. Do you? Nobody knows. I don't know. But I'm just saying.
Go into that one.
Yeah, I don't think
We've heard plenty who have,
Yeah, so. I mean, his rolling elevator gate's a whole different thing or whatever. We just know he's an asshole, right? And he somehow became one of the godfathers of new atheism or whatever, which never made any fucking sense to me.
Yeah, so, well, and leading into that, I guess, I was definitely in that environment for a while. Oddly enough, I was much more of like a hardcore tanky at that point.
I still don't quite understand what the fuck a tanky even is. Is it an authoritarian communist fetish? Is that what that?
Yeah, I mean, I think people use it these days more to just being like someone who's an apologist for one of the more authoritarian
Yeah.
regimes. Like I hear
Stalin.
people use it specifically for people who are like China can do no wrong, or I mean,
Yeah.
originally it meant Stalinist. It was
Yes.
it was like um, when
They rolled into Czechoslovakia. There was
yeah,
a
or actually no, it didn't mean Stalin. It came from the invasion of Hungary. I think because that's where
oh
there are actual
yes.
tanks involved, and
Okay. Well, I thought they
um,
also had the Prague Spring, and they rolled that shit
Hmm.
over too. So maybe I don't know if that was before or after that shit.
It's like people who are communist
yeah,
but wanted to
But
kind of
well, I can't keep
downplay
but
the
yeah.
track.
harder
So
aspect of
I
it.
mean, Hungary was Khrushchev, so it wasn't even Stalin. But
Okay, Tankies referred to Stalinists from the UK, and did you do that, Zach, or did I do that?
I
Anyway,
guess I clicked. Let me see.
that's
Here, let
fine.
me see if
But
this works. I don't know.
but yeah,
Somebody
I think
clicked
it was there was a split in the
Onias did.
Socialist
Onias
Workers
dominating
Party,
this.
sorry, sorry.
and
No, this thing just popped up on the screen. I'm like, how the fuck did that get
Maybe
here?
you clicked on it because you're the host. Because I don't think I can.
Sorry.
But
Okay, sorry.
it's kind of cool that you can do that. Anyway.
but yeah, it was one of the big Trotskyist groups. I think it was the Socialist Workers Party, but I'm not positive.
That's another thing.
And
It's a Trotskyist.
yeah, I was a Trotskyist before. I was a Trotskyist when I was in college. That was an interesting time.
I don't want to get too much in the weeds in this, but our generation, generally speaking, I mean, we didn't know. Y'all are talking about fucking theory like it's just, like.
Oh, I didn't know anything about Trotskyism. I guess
I don't know anything about any of that shit. I mean,
it was
I
more
know.
like I was a member of a Trotskyist organization.
Oh, you were
but,
actually okay. You were actually into it. Okay. I don't know what that really means.
I
mean, I know who he is, and I
yeah.
understand the split. I just don't know what his specific side of it was. Did it have to do with the world communism? Like he wanted to spread communism throughout the world?
The main, I guess, ideological difference between Trotsky and Stalin was that Stalin believed you could have socialism in one country and essentially not have like a permanent revolution, whereas Trotsky was like the entire world has to be constantly pushing towards socialism, and if there's not like a constant revolution going on, then any socialist state will degenerate into a degenerated worker state is, I think, the term that
that's not
was
a great
used.
argument, though.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we got to constantly in warfare in order to maintain a state. Well, that doesn't speak very well of whatever system you're setting up. I mean,
yeah, I didn't know any of this stuff. I mean, I did, but I was like very surface level. I was mostly just going to Iraq war protests at the time, and my political knowledge was not particularly sophisticated. I don't know that it's particularly sophisticated now.
Mine is certainly not. So you definitely have a leg up on me. I'm definitely not. I'm seeing some of these people. I'm like there's these leftist groups on Facebook, and I'm like, what the hell are they even talking about?
Mm.
They're just they're so deep in theory that I haven't read any of this shit. The only thing I think I've ever read is fucking the Communist Manifesto. I haven't read Das Kapital or fucking any Miles writings or any of that shit. I don't know anything about any of that. I just know their names. So I just think it's an interesting I just think it's an interesting kind of development that we're able to be quite frankly talk about communist ideas openly on the internet, to be quite honest with you, because they've always historically tried to suppress any sort of leftist ideas in this country, so of course theory and practice are two different things. But anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, Marxism has had a long history of being kind of accepted in academia. And I mean, when I was in college, we read, I was an English major, and we read a lot of Marx and like Marxists. We read a lot of like Althusser, and did like Marxist analysis of of literature, and it was just kind of like a normal thing to do. Like, so I don't know. And then the professors who were all like Marxists would go and like vote for centrist Democrats. So it was very much like.
I mean, it's we could talk about that all day.
Sadly, that's what we have right now. But what's I mean, you mentioned some conspiracy stuff, but what's coming up for Intellectual Dark Wave? What will people have to look forward to on your channel?
So I've got a kind of COVID ivermectin sort of song. It's called "I'm Not Going Out Like Stan Chira," and the most beautiful words of poetry that our former leader ever spoke, in my opinion. And then I have another one. It's called "All the Real Conspiracies," and it's basically about like Bill Gates and how like the actual things that he does are worse than all the conspiracy theories. Like, and it's not really that hard to find, like what he's actually up to. He's not really trying to inject people with microchips. He's just weirdly going around and trying to circumcise everyone in Africa and take over like the entire production of.
Why do you need conspiracy theories when the shit's happening right in front of your fucking eyes? I mean,
the reality isn't weird enough.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that probably came from like listening to TrueAnon a lot.
Oh, TrueAnon, oh man.
TrueAnon? What's that?
I've been listening to that a lot lately. I initially thought TrueAnon was like making fun of QAnon, but it's kind of like conspiracies that actually are real. So,
yeah.
With very deep discussions on things like JFK, RFK, and 9/11. Man, ooh boy, I just finished listening to a few of those. There's some.
I'm actually going to do this. Sorry, I'm going to do this on purpose this time.
Whoa.
Would love a song on the history of Coke and money in politics.
Okay.
So that's.
I think I can. I need to finish reading Democracy in Chains, and then I'll convert that into song form.
I actually read a book about the Koch brothers hit, and I'm trying to remember who wrote it. I know it was a woman. But I can't remember.
I mean, you do like videos, but do you ever do like a live performance where you just do some of your songs like on your channel, or are you more just you want to do your videos like one off, take time to produce them, and not just do like a.
I did one live performance. It's somewhere on my channel. And it's like an unplugged, like just me and a guitar. But yeah, other than that, I haven't performed live in like 2 years since my band kind of ceased to exist. One of these days, I keep telling myself I'm gonna figure out a way to efficiently perform these songs as a one-man band, or maybe if COVID lets up, actually get a band back together. But it's kind of I mean, I guess like people perform electronic music live all the time. I don't know what I'm saying. I was going to say it's a medium that doesn't necessarily lend itself to live performance, but the way people perform it is a way that I'm not used to like playing, I guess. Like I don't.
YouTube doesn't seem terribly well suited for this kind of in-room like one person performance necessarily. Now you might get with like a whole stage setup, but I don't know.
I mean, I think people do stuff like that on Twitch, and there's people that do live electronic music, but like when people do live electronic music, it's usually more kind of like extended jams, and it's like kind of really loop-based stuff, or they're doing like live synth programming, and that's not really like what I do, unfortunately. Like I tend to be more like I write out the specific part. Like I said, I don't really do a lot of improvisation these days, and a lot of live electronic music these days is pretty like improvisation based. And I tend to be more like I write out each part and record them 20 times before I get a take that I like. And if I was going to do a live performance, it would probably involve like backing tracks, and then I feel weird about that.
Sort of like the old days of They Might Be Giants, where they had like a tape behind them.
Yeah.
And then they finally said, "Okay, let's do a live band." Yeah, it's hard to do, yeah, because you can produce your own stuff, you can play your own instruments, but then it's like, yeah, live, you really have to probably.
Yeah, only got two hands.
Thing.
Yeah, you have to hire people to play. I mean, and that's a whole other thing. This way,
I could probably do a stripped down. I keep telling myself that I'm going to do this, like do a really stripped down kind of just like a drum machine, and I'll play like bass with one hand and just have like another keyboard on the other, and not worry about fancy arrangements, and just kind of like do the songs, and maybe someone will like that.
The 80s with the two keyboards and the two hands. Yeah. That's the thing.
I don't know. It seems like it kind of, you have to concentrate on everything at once would kind of degrade the quality of the music a little bit.
Oh, it definitely does. It's a lot more raw. I've done it before, like it's been a long time since I've done something like that, and in my opinion, it sounded like crap. But again, people do this a lot, and actually,
there are people who. I'm not saying you aren't one of them, but I'm just saying it seems like a very difficult task to pull off.
Yeah.
If just as a general rule,
Yeah, I think it would require a lot of practice on my part, and I'm not sure that I have the will or the time to get good enough at it. I have seen some shows where people did that kind of like solo show, and like Colleen Green, for example, does a lot of tours where it'll just be her and a drum machine, and she'll play guitar, and like she sounds good, and she, has like more stage presence than I do, I'm sure. And she's like,
don't sell yourself short, man. Don't sell yourself short.
This Nanya was talking about MIDI Fighter 64, and I was like, "Hey, I've been listening to the Giants podcast, and they're talking about MIDI, in the 90s and 2000s, and it's like
you see it good.
I guess you record some stuff, and you could play it as a background, but then you'd have to prepare for that one, yeah."
Oh, that's how probably 10 years ago at this point, the last time I did like a one-man band project, that was how I did it. I had like a sequencer, and really, like when you think about it, the difference between coming up with a sequencer and bringing like 5 or 6 synths and then basically pressing play on the sequencer versus just having a backing track on tape, it's really not that different from in terms of like what you're actually doing. But for whatever reason, like at the time I was like, no, I'm playing this live. I'm using a sequencer. This isn't just a recording. And that was how I kind of got myself through it, I guess. But it was very time consuming to prepare for, and it was difficult. And it's a lot easier to just play with a band, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely. If you can manage that, certainly.
Yeah.
Of course, in COVID, it's a whole different story. But I don't want to keep you too much longer. But I did kind of want to get a final thought from you about intersection of, you're obviously a musician, but you are leftist as well. So do you think that this is an effective way to get out our message? And I'm not saying it's not, but I want to get your thoughts on how effective you think. Music has certainly always been a component of movements. I think we can agree on that. But what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of like doing the YouTube stuff, it's more just for fun, and it might have like some positive impact, but I don't really expect that it has a huge impact. I think where music is really important is at rallies. Like if you go to a strike and you have someone like singing labor songs there, it kind of, number one, it can kind of like drown out counter protesters, which is nice. Or it can, kind of like, but it can also just kind of soften the image of whatever you're doing. Like it's a lot harder for the public to be like, oh, those dirty leftists, if they're all like just out there singing Woody Guthrie songs
Jamming.
or something.
Yeah, you jam, man. That's part of the whole. People, if you take it too seriously, people think you're the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
Who they don't ever play any. Fucking Antifa needs a theme song in Portland. If you're gonna roll up in Portland, I'm saying, man,
Antifa
it's
theme
Portland.
song. Wow, there you go.
Hey, come on, an Antifa Marseillaise or something. Like a theme song, something to really get the truth. Of course, that.
Have you done something about concrete milkshakes, or is that not coming up?
I have an Andy No song that's like half written, and I haven't finished it. I literally started it like 2 years ago and just never was able to finish writing lyrics.
I wanted to I wanted to show this comment. I appreciate the vibes of the interview. Looking forward to seeing more from this channel and catching up on what I've missed. So thank you.
Oh, awesome.
None ya business.
Thank you for swinging by, None ya business.
None ya business. If we can play your songs over right-wing protests, you might be able to copyright claim them.
Well, they're all. I think they're all Creative Commons at this point, so I'm probably out of luck on that. But
plus, it's the great publicity anyway.
Yeah.
If you show up in a fucking right-wing video playing because they're taping we're owning the fucking Antifa and your music's playing in the background. Who knows? Stormfront,
Yeah.
You get on Stormfront, you never fucking know, man. Maybe there's some Nazi who might hear it and turn progressive. You never know.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
But I think like the music in of itself, it's more like a way for me to blow off steam and hopefully for like other people to blow off steam or just kind of like, get through the day a little bit. And to the extent that it has any impact, I think. I mean, I don't really think I'm going to be, maybe I'll change a couple minds with my music, but I think mostly my audience are leftists, and they, it's like music that maybe they use it to kind of like psych themselves up before they go and do something, or maybe they just use it to relax or blow off steam or work out or whatever. I think probably to the extent that I have like any other impact, doing things like working with like YouTubers who actually, do like real video essays that are informative, that probably has more of an impact than just writing funny songs about Jordan Peterson. But like
whatever hits people, it takes everybody to.
Yeah. But at this, I mean, I'm also of the mind that music is valuable in of itself. A lot of what I write, a lot of what I write about is just because that's what's on my mind, and it's not like, I'm not like I'm going to change the world with my music. Like I do other things that I think have more impact than the music, but the music is there because I think, it's fun. Music is good. The world's better if there's music,
Oh, I wouldn't. I'll never argue with you on that one. Well, I'm going to let you go, but you want to throw out well, you have several links apparently.
Oh yeah.
Where we can find you.
Yeah. So I think everything is the same username at this point. So patreon.com/intellectualdarkwave, youtube.com/intellectualdarkwave, instagram.com/intellectualdarkwave.
Yeah, everywhere that, intellectual darkwave is sold,
Yep. Exactly.
Pretty much because I looked at the links and they're pretty much,
fried intellectual darkwave, steamed intellectual darkwave, intellectual darkwave scampi.
Let's go. You got me.
Intellectual dark wave. Crab cake.
Scampi.
Do a little.
What? That's a scampi? What's happening? Okay. See, this is what happened. We bring it back around when I was
Yep.
fucked up, and I saw your video before I saw Majority Report. So we're
I'm
coming
full
back
of dad
full circle.
jokes.
Hey, dad jokes are underrated, man. I'm telling you, man. That can break the tension. Dad jokes can. People get pissed off. Tell them a dad joke, and they were so overwhelmed by the dad joke badness that they forget about the other shit. See, world peace, dad jokes. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, once again, you could argue that my entire channel is just one big dad joke. So,
It depends what dads you're talking about, I reckon. But all right, Matthew. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And I definitely will be checking out and listening for more of your music coming out. Don't have me fucking texting you or DMing you and asking where the fuck is my shit. Don't make me come up there.
Yeah.
Man.
Where's my next hit? Come on.
Yeah. I need some of that good leftist, shit. There's lots of essays, but not much music, actually, to be honest with you. So I'm liking this kind of thing you got, this niche you got going on.
Well, there's plenty of other. Actually, before I go, I want to plug some other people who are doing similar stuff. Actually, if for other people who want who like country music and are leftists, Croy and the Boys are freaking amazing, and Croy is really solid deep baritone country singer. Plays straight up like honky tonk. He did an amazing cover of "Did They Owe Us a Living" by Crass, but totally made it sound like a Merle Haggard song, and he's awesome. So I highly recommend people check him out. And for people who like synth pop, Kate Shep is another kind of newish lefty synth popper, and she has a great voice, writes great songs. And people have probably heard Nina Richards, but they probably don't know that they've heard her because she's done a lot of music for some of the bigger lefty YouTubers, but she's a amazing keyboardist. She mostly does instrumental synth stuff, but if you like synthwave or really any of the kind of 80s synth stuff, she's really cool, and people should check her out.
All right, well, it's always good to plug other people because God knows we need more as much help as we can get in this fucking bullshit country.
There's a nice little ecosystem that's coming together. And one other thing I need to plug.
Okay.
Shared Records. If you're familiar with Ben Carollo, who is on the Young Turks, he is also a musician. He does house and trance and kind of lo-fi hip hop. So he invited me to kind of join up, and there's some other people. Jake Minter, also known as Mint Nerd. And so we are doing a bunch of instrumental music, and it's all Creative Commons, and it's all essentially intended as just free background music for streamers, or just if people need chill music to listen to. And the YouTube channel is called Shared Records, and we're just putting up a bunch of mixes that we've all made, and there's a lot of really cool people involved in it.
So we're gonna need a leftist super band.
I think Shared Records is probably the closest to that at this point.
So you do a little video where one guy's playing bass and all smiling, the kind of intro video.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, you could do worse. Before we go, I just wanted to one more thing. None of your business. Who's been hanging out? I'll suggest one of my own, Gabby Henderson. I'm not sure who that is, but I'm sure they are awesome. I don't know the gender.
We'll find out.
Yeah. But thanks again for coming on, and thank you for none of your business. It's none of your business, which is great because Zuckerberg already knows who the fuck you are. Calm down. All right? None of your business. They know everything. No, seriously. And thank you for coming on, man. I know you
Thanks for
got,
having me.
kids and shit. So I don't have a life, so I can do this anytime I want. Anyway, so yeah, I'll be keeping track of you, and maybe you can come back on sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to.
When you get all popular, if you remember us little people or whatever. All right, man.
Thanks,
Well,
Good talking to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, likewise.
And until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?